Welcome to the B2B Legend Show by OneFlow. I'm Josephine, your host, and on this show we dive into the stories behind some of the legends in the B2B world. Each episode we chat with industry leaders to explore their journeys, challenges, and insights. Today we're joined by Aref Abedi, CEO and co-founder of Jobylon. In this episode, Aref shares his journey from engineering to entrepreneurship, lessons learned from building a bootstrap B2B SaaS company, and how he leads with heart and builds a strong culture. Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of B2B Legend Show. And today we have Aref Abedi here. Big welcome to you.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to have you here. We will get to know you a bit better and also we'll dive into your career journey. But before we do that, it would be great if you can start with a quick introduction of who you are and what you're working with at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So my name is Aref. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Jobylon. We've been doing this since 2011. And basically what the company does is that we offer a talent acquisition suite primarily for larger enterprises with a heavy focus on Europe.
Awesome. Nice. And now let's bring it back to the beginning, basically. So if you can walk us through from where you started and how you ended up to where you are today.
Yes, let me compress 15 years in one sentence. So if I start from the beginning, I studied engineering, like a master of science, not development engineering, but like mechanical engineering. And my biggest fear was where to work when I was done. I was so afraid of having a job that I would not like. I would meet, as a student, you go to these fairs or visits and you meet companies, you meet people. And some people were like, I've been working here for 30 years, but soon, hopefully, I will retire. And it felt so like sad. I was like, this can't be life, So I applied for every single thing. I ended up for a company called Meltwater, which was a pure sales position. And my thought of that was sales, that's not my thing. I'm a engineer. I should do valuable things. I didn't understand what sales was. But I really love the people and the culture. So I ended up trying it out and it was the best thing ever. I really learned how to run, how to conduct business, what sales actually is. I came into the kind of SaaS world before I think SaaS was a thing in that sense. So I was there for a little bit less than 2 years. I worked in our Stockholm office. I worked in London, and then I went and set up one of our offices in Amsterdam. And then I basically got the opportunity to start Jobylon together with some individuals in Meltwater, some of them being in the executive team, one of them being the CEO and founder of Meltwater. To be honest, I ended up just doing it. I'm a guy who kind of emotionally takes decisions. I didn't know what the idea was. Back then, by the way, it was a different idea. Today, it's something else. I just flew back home. I didn't have anywhere to live. I didn't know what my salary was. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. We just started this thing, and that's how I ended up creating Jobylon, basically.
Okay. So then this wasn't really the original path that you have thought of taking?
No, and absolutely not. I didn't know it was. Obviously, today I understand that it's been a very entrepreneurial journey and all of those things. Back then, I just emotionally took a decision that I remember when we were at Meltwater, people were always talking about, do you remember how it was when we were 5 or when we were 10? Or do you remember that the crappy office we had in the basement? And I felt like, no, I don't remember that because I wasn't there. So for me, this became like, oh, now I have the opportunity to create those memories myself. So that's how I ended up starting this venture. And our first idea was completely something else. The company name have always been Jobylon within kind of HR tech, but we've done a number of things in the early days, everything from job boards to referral programs. We've failed many ideas until we kind of ended up in what we are doing today, which is working really well.
And how has, as you mentioned, you have failed a lot of times. I mean, failure can also be something that is kind of quite numbing, and also, as I feel like a co-founder, it's more of a kind of numbing, since it's like you are creating something rather than if you fail on a, let's say, day-to-day job. But how have you then, after failing, gotten through that and like motivate you to go further?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good question. And I remember in the early days, I did question it a lot in terms of like, why are we doing this? Because it's not working. And Jobylon has never received funding, and we were kind of created from, you know, funding from friends and family, and the co-founders and the people who are in the company today, both on a board level and not. And in the early days, I would always kind of I always needed more cash to pay out salaries and do things, and that's always hard to ask for more money on a frequent basis. And I did ask one of our bigger shareholders once, like, why do you keep on, giving us these loans? Because obviously I just come back and ask for more. And his answer was very simple. It was kind of like, well, someone is going to make it, so it might as well be us. So just keep on going. So I think, to answer your question, I've been lucky enough to work with great people, not only from a kind of a board level, but also the team itself. The core team is still the same people who were in the company 15 years ago. And often when I would get the question, why do you keep on doing this when things weren't working well? My answer was, because I'm very happy and I'm having a lot of fun. That's what made me just continue.
Yeah, I was quite surprised when you said that you do, like when you took the decisions to go with Jobylon, it was more of an emotional decision. Is that something that has been like through your whole career, or was that only basically for Jobylon?
I would say it's like throughout my life, I am an emotional decision maker. So I often follow my heart, what I feel, and maybe not always what makes sense. So far it has been working out well. I'll continue doing that. I think you can easily overanalyze things, and, you know, what's the best thing? What should I have on my CV? And again, it kind of goes back to the thing of uh, the fear of having a job that you don't like. And so if I try and follow what makes me happy, and if I can be happy, I think that's where you get the most out of me, and that's where I do my best work in that sense. So yeah, throughout my life, I think I'm a emotional decision maker.
Nice, I love that. But then, is there any kind of skill that you learned early on in your career at where you worked previously, and that you have taken with you to creating and scaling Jobylon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the two things that became part of my DNA from previous kind of experience. Number one, and I guess it sounds like cheesy, all of these things, but they are so true. But number one is the kind of like working with right people, right? Having great people around you, preferably way stronger than yourself in certain areas, is key, not only for the success of the company, but just kind of day to day fun. Like, this is where we spend most of our time. We need to work hard 100%, but we got to have fun and create a lot of memories while doing that. And I think the company I was before, they were really good at that, hiring, great talent, enjoying the present, those kind of things. That was one thing. The second thing was the importance of cash flow and cash collection and cash, like knowing exactly what's in your account at any time. I've always been strong with that. I'm not an accountant. I'm not good at forecasting years ahead. And yeah, we have people in the team that are way better than I am. But knowing your cash flow, I think that has for us been extremely important, especially if you're bootstrapped, of course. So I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what is something that you have had to learn along the way to grow in your career?
Um, a lot, definitely a lot. I think one is how to handle kind of objections and failures, because they will happen way more than success. I think, if it depending on how you kind of what you measure or identify as a failure. but understanding how to kind of learn from them and just continue has been one thing for sure. Another thing, learn how to delegate. I was really bad at that before in the early days. I was kind of a control person, like, "Oh, I'll do it. I know what I'm doing." But you can't scale anything doing it like that. And that's something I still try and think about actively, like how can I delegate this? How can it be way better if someone else actually does this instead of me doing it? So those are two things that kind of comes up in mind, but obviously there's loads of lessons learned.
Yeah, usually it's. And during your career, you have, of course, also taken a lot of decisions and like that has moved you in different paths. Has there been a career decision that had a huge impact on your journey? Of course, going with Jobylon, but is it something else? Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it's I can't pinpoint one thing because I feel like it's weird how you end up doing what you do. I randomly applied to a job that randomly made me start somewhere, and all of those kind of butterfly effects made me end up here. So I don't know if I understood the impact of the decisions at that time, but today I can go back and say like, oh, it was because of that insignificant decision at that point. So I don't have a specific like this is the decision I made or this happened and that kind of changed our journey. I think we have just been giving 110% every day and just making the best decisions we can as we go, and then hopefully we look back in a year from now and realize that was a good decision, and if it wasn't, then we just keep on going and try and take better decisions.
Yeah, makes sense. It's also, I guess, it's also hard to, since it's often multiple things that factor into where you're going or what you're doing. So it isn't easy to pinpoint that thing. I get that. But yeah.
Definitely.
But also, as you mentioned, building a company and being in journey of Jobylon comes with a lot of challenges. So what's one mistake that you see early stage founders make now? And how do you think that they can avoid it?
Well, I think for one, I think it's important to know that I come from my perspective. So, having a B2B bootstrapped SaaS is very different from having a B2C funded. So my recommendations are very much based on my experience. But I think I don't know if I would classify it as like big mistakes in that sense, but again, one is definitely being very cash conscious. Like it's so easy to spend money on things, whether that is events or office or swag or whatever that might be. It's so easy to start spending a lot, and then suddenly your kind of money in does not match cost out. That is something I learned early on, having that respect for cash flow. The other thing, it's not so much a mistake, but a learning. It's so hard to hire really strong people, especially. Well, actually, no, always. It's always hard. I was gonna say especially in the beginning, but sometimes it's easier in the beginning because then you have this like dream of what you are creating, and then there are some people who are attracted to that dream. But it's hard to hire and keep great people. We've been lucky there in some extent. We've had people with us for a very long time, and I think that's one of the things that is also makes me most proud in terms of like the people we have and the culture we have.
Yeah, and starting to talk about culture, how like what is the key things to building a good culture? Since that is so important at a workplace, what advice would you give to building a great culture?
Ooh, yeah, I get that question sometimes, and I'm not sure exactly what we are doing in that sense, what we're doing right or what we're doing wrong. I think I believed always in a very kind of open and transparent culture.
Yeah.
Open with what things that are going well. I'm open with things that are not going as well. In the early days, fewer people, I would like on a monthly basis present, this is this is how much money we have in the account, and it's going up and it's going down. But with that came an understanding and a context of what does it mean to be cash conscious. So I think that transparency and honesty is super important. I think also like leading by example. It's always easy to tell your sales team to sell more or tell your developers to code faster or things that doesn't make sense, and people don't know what they do with it. But if you can lead by example in certain areas, but also learn what they are going through, I think that is a great way of creating a strong culture and a strong foundation. So definitely a combination of those things, I think, creates that kind of safety for people to do mistakes and be open about it, and that brings just a stronger culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say is the most unexpected part of being a founder? Something that you were like, I hope someone warned me about this before going into it.
I don't know if I would classify it as a warning, like unexpected things. I never thought, I would never guess 15 years before that it requires this much work. But it's not a warning. It's like if you love it, then that's what you do. But you work a lot. That doesn't mean that you are stressed. It doesn't have to be. You have to kind of embrace that and cope with that in a different way. But in many ways, this is what you're doing all the time. This is what you're dreaming about. This is what you're doing during days. So that was kind of unexpected in that sense, I guess. It's a very different type of job, but I personally love it, and that's what kind of makes me wake up every day and do what I do.
And what, if it was one advice you would give to someone looking into or thinking about creating their own company, what would that be then?
Personally, I'm a person who really kind of like the ideas where you can just kind of pick up the phone and sell. So obviously this doesn't apply to all ideas. So I'm an expert on those areas. But if I would recommend something and if I would do something again, I would definitely be in the same type of B2B world where I would very early on be able to pick up the phone and start selling this. And I think the importance of that is so high because you can not only validate what you're doing, but you're generating, again, I'm going back to the cash flow thing. And if you can kind of control your own destiny instead of always getting funding, etc., I think you're in such a stronger position. But again, I say that with all the respect because not all businesses can do that or should do that. But if you are starting a B2B SaaS, sales, I would say, is number one.
I want to move a bit more into leadership and how you are as a leader. So how would you describe your leadership style, and how has it also evolved during your time as a leader?
My leadership style, you should almost ask my team, I guess. It's weird to explain it yourself. But I think, again, I try and lead by example on the things that I was talking about. So being kind of having an honest approach, again, being upfront with things that are going good, things that are not going as well. What do we really need to do? I'm a person who always have an opinion that can be sometimes annoying as well, because you always have some opinion. It doesn't mean that you have the right opinion. I also try and you have to have a lot of fun. Again, what we are doing here every day is, well, for one part, we're creating a company and we're creating value for our customers. But for the other part, we're creating a lot of memories and small things like we have a Polaroid camera in the office, walking around, just taking pictures. This is not so much leadership, but for me, those things are important because you are creating memories and relationships with the people you are working with, both internally and externally. So I try and have a lot of fun. I try and lead by example myself. I try and be as transparent and honest as I can be. So these things I think of. And you said what has changed in terms of leadership. Well, I think one is that kind of delegating part, being able to have people around you that are much stronger than yourself. And then you feel, I remember the first time I did that, I delegated to a colleague and it ended up being so good. I was like, wow, this result was so much better than I would do it myself. I kind of proved it to myself in a way, and that became like an epiphany. Like, this is how you should like do it. This is how you scale a business. You can't do everything yourself. So that's definitely one thing. Another thing is, I think with time you kind of learn what you're strong at and what you're not strong at, and you kind of accept that and embrace that. So you try and utilize your strengths, and you try and stay away from your weaknesses. Instead, you compensate that with other great people. I think in the beginning you try and do everything, and you believe that you have the role that you should be good at everything, but that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Nice. And looking also more into the future, are there any kind of trends or innovations that you are extra excited about now? It can be within the talent acquisition space, the recruitment space, but is it something that you feel like is going to change the way we work? Of course, it would be AI, but have you seen something other specific thing?
Yeah, no, it would be weird not to say AI. This is probably like one of my weaknesses in that sense, that I'm very good at like, what do we need to do right now? And if I start thinking about where are we in 3 years, my brain just doesn't like can't understand that. I kind of don't know where we are in 6 months. Kind of joking a little bit also. We obviously have like a direction and where we're going.
Yeah.
But I think in our world, I mean, of course, AI, I'm not going to talk about that because it's such a standard kind of reply. And yes, that is true. But one thing I think we'll see more of is the importance of customer service and customer kind of obsession, especially in the field we are in. I feel that I meet a lot of companies that have had pretty, poor relationships with their vendors, and there is this kind of fear that you're going to select the wrong vendor, and it's not going to go well again. So I think that level of trust, that level of service, that proactive approach, I think is going to be more and more important, and that kind of almost goes against the AI thing, if we want to classify it like that. But I think in our world, I think that's super important, and it's also one of our kind of corner values to be that partner to our customer and not just like a vendor in that sense. So I think that we're going to see more of that, and we're going to see more of the impact that has.
Yeah, definitely. And if you look back at your career, as we have done, what is your strongest memory from it, and why?
Yeah, wow. It's hard to say one memory. Well, first of all, you didn't say what's your best memory, so some of the strongest memory are the
Yeah,
worst ones, right?
We can do
Yeah.
one the best, no, not the best and worst, but
Yeah.
one good and one
Well,
bad.
one of the hard ones, it was like year 2. This was 13 years ago. But then we, like, in one day we were 13 people, and then in one day we went from 13 to 3. That was a hard moment. That was a tough. I mean, today you look back at it and it's not tough, but that was a tough day. But it also shows the kind of grit and stamina you need sometime to kind of continue with the business. That's one memory. In terms of good memories, I mean, obviously you have the commercial ones of like when you got this logo or we got that logo, and when you opened up the office. But I honestly, like, the best memories are the memories with the people in the company. The first time we went to a trip, the first time we attended a wedding of one of our colleagues, the first time someone got a child, and I think those by far are the best memories, and these are people and friends for life, so many of them. And I think that those memories outwins the kind of the business memories, if that makes sense.
For sure.
So yeah, those are the ones I think of.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
All right, before we wrap up, I'd love to end the interview with some quick fire questions. So whatever comes to mind, just say it, basically.
All right.
Starting off, what's one habit that you think has contributed to your success?
Working a lot.
Yeah. And who do you learn from?
Ooh, everyone. Colleagues, board, people externally, all the time.
Nice, love that. And who do you think should be in the next interview?
Oh, wow. I can't give one name to that. I have a lot of names. I was thinking of your CEO. That was the first name that popped up.
Anders, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's easy to get. So that's a good one. That's nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Aref, thank you so much for sharing your journey. It has been great listening to, and thank you so much for taking your time to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to not miss future episodes. See you in the next one.